Good evening, folks. Matt M. Roy back once again. Well, feeling a little defeated today. I am going to read some song lyrics, and if you out there like me are a fan of American Dad, then you've probably seen this in one of the earlier episodes. This is a song by Edie Brickell and the Bohemians called I Give Up. And I'm going to read I guess we consider the chorus here. It goes, I quit, I give up, nothing's good enough for anybody else, it seems, and I quit, I give up, nothing good enough for anybody else, it seems, and being alone is the best way to be. When I'm by myself, it's the best way to be. When I'm all alone, it's the best way to be. When I am by myself, nobody else can say goodbye. All right, folks. So, what in the world am I talking about today? Well, problem that I've had throughout all of my years, all of my 36 years on planet Earth. Yes, I am 36, going to be going on 37 sooner than I would like to admit. I have been what most people would call a pathological people pleaser. Those of you that watch Two and a Half Men, Alan Harper was one of those and still is, I guess, in that character. Don't know if John Cryer really is, but what that basically means is throughout my life, I've always tried to make people feel better. I am a very empathetic person by nature. Empathy meaning that if somebody else is in pain, I tend to feel that pain, and I take on that pain myself. It's just something that I've done my entire life. But I'm noticing that by being that type of person, I am suffering myself. You cannot take the weight of the world on yourself. And that is something that I have tried to do. And I guess it's taken me, well, almost 37 years of my life to realize that. And it, again, something that is a personality flaw, and it actually is, believe it or not. It does even say in the Bible that you are, number one, supposed to take care of yourself. It says save yourself. Once you save yourself, then you can worry about others. But you are the most important thing to yourself. And this all goes back to self-esteem. Now, being a very empathetic person, I never had the greatest self-esteem either, especially when I was a kid. I tended to be the one that got bullied a lot. I tended to be the one that would try to point out some of the flaws in other people, hoping to help them out in the long run. But at the end of the day, it actually wound up just hurting me because, let's face it, people don't necessarily like you pointing out their flaws. Now, I said that I'm a pathological people pleaser. Well, those two kind of contradict each other. But when you think about it, it all goes back to trying to improve other people's lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you are an empathetic person, if you are a volunteer, let's say you give blood, maybe you volunteer at your local animal shelter, maybe you volunteer at your local homeless shelter, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I'm not telling you not to do that. But what I am saying is you need to make sure you take care of your own needs before you take care of others' needs. You may have heard the saying, that person will give you the shirt off their back. That is not a good thing, because if you are not having your needs taken care of, then you can't effectively take care of another person's needs. Kind of got to think about that one. Eric Brunhammer goes, I actually learned that pretty young. I still try to help, but I don't get upset if I can't anymore. Absolutely. Scott Kelly goes, also, though, I give up on my love life. Well, I'm not the best judge. I'm not the best judge of that. I've not had very much success in the romantic side of things. I've had girlfriends, but I just never really worked out that well because, again, I'm over empathetic. I sympathize with them, and that at least in a lot of women's eyes, I say girls, women's eyes, is shown as a sign of weakness, and they usually don't like that. You ever hear the bad boy usually gets the girls? Well, I'm the total opposite of that, so that's why I never got the girls. Still don't really. But you know what? If it works out at the end, if I can find a girl, you know what? Maybe that's what I needed. Maybe I needed that little kick in the pants that, hey, Matt, don't be a stooge. Don't be somebody else's puppet. Live your own life, help out where you can, but over helpful. Now, one thing that my gym teacher, I got to readjust the monitor here a little bit. One thing my gym teacher back in middle school, who was a total jerk, I mean, he was. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to tell you who he was, but he was a total jerk. But he did get one thing right, and that is, oh God, I just lost my train of thought here. He did say that, take care of yourself. Don't let anybody else give you grief. In other words, you stand up to people. If you think you are right, stand up and make yourself heard. And don't let people push you around. And when I was young, that's what happened. I always let people push me around because I always thought that was my only option. I had very low self-esteem. So the moral of this whole story, and yeah, I know that title is clickbaity. I told you guys I'm going to try it. I'm going to be doing some more clickbaity titles. So hopefully that'll help increase the YouTube ad revenue, which is abysmal. In January, my ad revenue, I'll be honest with you, is down about 70% now. So if you don't see a lot of videos out by me, that's why, because I have to focus my attention elsewhere just to be able to make ends meet during this very lean time of year where they're renegotiating all the contracts. Scott Keeley goes, sorry, I'll say one thing. Not going to say stuff only now. Well, I'll say this. I'm not going to be a blank, blank, blank. I'm not going to say the word just to get someone to like me. Not happening. You know what? That's fine too. And I'm not telling you to be that kind of person either, unless that's who you are. I mean, to be honest with you, I've noticed that those kind of people actually tend to be happier. The people that just have a chip on their shoulder, they're like, oh, I don't care. I don't care. Oh yeah, you want to go out with me? Yeah, that's fine. And this is really a sad fact of life, too, and I've seen this so many times. The women tend to go for the bad boys and or the guys that treat them like dirt. Somebody tell me why that is. I still don't get that. That's a part of human nature that I just don't understand. Whenever I've dated, I've always treated my significant other with the utmost respect. I always listened to them. Matter of fact, that's why my last relationship didn't work, because it got to the point where I was so lovey-dovey and I was so accepting of all that person's flaws that when it finally became too much and I just started to speak up a little bit, she couldn't take it. So that just shows you right there that you can't be that pathological people pleaser. And again, I'm going to bring that 2.5 Men reference. Any of you out there that have ever seen that show, Alan Harper is that pathological people pleaser. He is the epitome of what I was, and I'm not going to be anymore. And if you remember, all his relationships failed too because women just don't like that. I've noticed that now. Now that I'm older and wiser, I guess. Scott Kearley, that's funny. He goes, YouTube pays like government. You pay 100%. And get 25% in return. There is some truth to that, but it's more like 40-60, where you get 60% and they get 40%. You actually do get more ad revenue than they do, but the problem is they're renegotiating their contracts in the new year, and right now the ad revenue is down to almost nothing. Scott, you hit the nail on the head right there. I'm going to read this out loud because this is very important. He goes, I think that's only staging, trying to look tough while deep down inside they are hurting. Absolutely. Those tough boys, those tough guys out there that get the girls, believe me, inside they are hurting more than you can imagine. just like there are times that I hurt. But the only difference is they actually can have a successful or semi-successful relationship, though usually throughout their lifetime they may have 4 or 5 or 6 of them, and throughout that they'll get married. Sometimes they won't. They'll have a string of kids. So I guess in that sense I'm kind of lucky. Awesome computers. Toughness is a trait that we needed in survival, but it is an outdated trait that was pre-programmed in females over time. So they may be why women like toughness. Interesting. So you're saying that it's kind of like a evolutionary thing. Not that I necessarily believe in evolution, but I do believe that over the millennia, we have become more civilized. I mean, we can prove that. I mean, look at the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. So what you're saying is women seem to have that more than men. I kind of agree with that to a point, though I do know some men that are like that too. And men, I think, tend to be more submissive because we, on the inside, have all that raging testosterone that's just bubbling at the surface, and we're afraid to show that. So I think men, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a guy out there, let me know if you feel this way, but I know sometimes I feel like I'm so pumped, especially after a workout. Like if I work out in the morning, maybe I've walked 4 or 5 miles and then bike rode another 6 or 7, and I'm really pumped. I kind of have to have some time to myself. If I don't have some time to myself, I'll explode and I'll lash out at somebody. That's actually happened to me in the past. I'm just curious. Let me know if that's the case. I mean, maybe that's just me. Maybe I have a over testosterone problem or something. I don't know. Scott Kearley, awesome computers. I don't know females like 50-50, a man that can be tough and heartfelt at the same time. That's actually a good thing, in my opinion. You have to have a little give and take there. Toughness is definitely a good thing when the situation calls for it. And then it's also good to be empathetic, but you don't want to have too much of one and not enough of the other. That's when you start running into the problems that I discussed a few minutes ago. Eric's Variety Channel. My first marriage ended because of this. I did everything I could to treat her right and never fight, but she seemed to have no sensitivity. That's the age-old problem. And to be honest with you, and I hate to say this, the problem lied, at least in your case and mine, on our side, not their side. Because believe it or not, how you start a relationship, and I've learned this, how you start a relationship makes all the difference. If you start a relationship and it's one-sided, where one person has more power than the other, it's not going to work. That's happened to me in almost every single relationship. There has to be several things. There has to be love. I mean, that's number one. There has to be respect, and that's where that power struggle happens sometimes. You can have love, but if it's too one-sided, like the guy loves the girl too much or the girl loves the guy too much, and it's not 50-50, doesn't work out. It never will, unfortunately. Victor Del Fuente. Yep, I'm doing just fine today. A little discouraged at times, but we're working through some of this. So you guys help me as much as I help you, so I think sometimes. And this is one of those days that I kind of needed your assistance. And this is great, getting a lot of good information out there. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had Thai food today. I had pad Thai with a lot of hot sauce, so I'm really I have a lot of indigestion right now, so excuse me. Not to arbitrarily change topics, but I found this stuff is really good for indigestion. This is Pure Aqua Bella V, I think it's pronounced. See if you guys can see if it'll focus on that. I get this. This is like the equivalent of the I can't think of the name right now, but anyway, it's basically flavored seltzer water. It has no calories. I like the grapefruit one, but there are a lot of different flavors out there, and it's just like drinking water, except it's carbonated, so it kind of calms your stomach down. I'll think of it in a minute, or somebody will tell me what the name of the name brand water that I'm forgetting. The same thing that comes in the cans. Eric goes, it was really two people with zero or next to zero self-esteem, and that was the biggest problem. Okay, that's good. That's kind of on the other end of the spectrum. So basically, both of you. Oh, sorry, I have a bad tendency of hitting into that. Both of you had the type B, or the I don't know if submissive is the word, but yeah, submissive personality. That's almost as bad as one having the type A and one having the type B. See, there's such a fine line in relationships that if one thing doesn't work, if one little thing doesn't work, it's like a thread on a piece of clothing. If one thread's out of place, it all unravels. LaCroix, that's it. Thank you, Eric. And I think you actually did spell that right, to be honest with you. I should have remembered, because when I was an oldie earlier, I actually saw the LaCroix, but me being a cheap person, I just went with their generic one. I think it actually tastes just about the same. Awesome computers. Sadly, I have no experience with girls because I just entered the arena of romance. I still have no girls yet, but I'm young too. Well, that's good. I like to say I'm younger middle age, which is kind of the truth. And I've had two serious relationships in my life that never went past the dating stage, basically. And I don't know. I don't know what I want, honestly. I mean, I know I want a woman that is loving and caring, and I want to be able to give the same back. And see, that's the problem. That's why I am not seriously looking for a relationship right now, because I don't feel that I am at the point in my life where I can give a person the relationship that they need, or they would deserve. And I don't think that's fair to them. Now, again, that's me being that type of pathological people pleaser to a point, but it's also good that I was able to realize that. And I think there will be a time. Let me readjust myself here so you guys can see me a little bit better. I think there will be a time in the future where I am more emotionally stable. Now that I have the physical side down pat, I'm in good shape. I want to fix some of the stuff that's going on up here, but that's a conversation for another live stream. Scott Keeley goes, I'm afraid to say no, afraid it will hurt her. Sorry. Yeah. My one relationship, I ended the first relationship. I'm sorry, first relationship, she ended it. The second relationship, I ended it. And it was definitely worse the first time. And I know that I hurt her, but it was something that had to be done, because at least in the first relationship that I had, there was no love there. The idea of romance, I think, was the only thing that kept us together. There was no physical attraction between the two of us. And that is very important too. You have to be compatible, but you can't negate the physical attraction. At the end of the day, we are flesh and blood. The Bible says that sex is good. There are limits on that. Matter of fact, our pastor was talking about that the other day. But we are those type of sexual beings that we have to be physically attracted to our significant other, not just intellectually. So there's another kink in the chain. That's why it is so hard to have a successful relationship right off the bat. That's why we have dating. I mean, heck, I know people that were in their 50s that before they got married, because they just couldn't find that significant other, the one that they meant to be with. And being a Christian, I am a born again Christian, I do believe that once you are married, it is a sin to get divorced unless there is infidelity there. And I don't want to necessarily bring religion into this, but at least in my life, that does play a big part in my romantic and love decisions, honestly. Victor de la Fuente, relationships are great, but to me, school comes first for me, and then I worry about girls later on in life. You know, that's kind of the millennial way of thinking. I don't know what generation you are. I am technically a millennial. The millennials are having children later in life than almost every previous generation. If you look at the baby boomers, they had kids as young as 18 or 19. Most millennials, I mean, heck, I'm 36, and it's not uncommon for millennials to wait till this age to have kids. Is that necessarily a good thing or a bad thing? It depends on how you look at it. Now, if you look at the Mayo Clinic, WebMD, and a few of the other statistics, it's not really that good because, believe it or not, with the obesity epidemic that's happening in our country now, millennials are projected to be the first generation to live less, basically to live less time on earth, basically die younger than their parents did. So when you think about it that way, it's not really fair on the children. But that being said, you have to do what's right for you. And there were many years that I truly believed that bringing a child into this world was not a good thing. I mean, even now I'm reluctant to do that. Am I saying I'll never have a child with a woman? I don't know. It could happen, but I am going to be very, very careful. Awesome computers. I was once a people pleaser, but junior high recently took a good portion of that out. I still try to help, but I prefer not to give too much resources or time into that. Yes, yes, that is absolutely correct. And the reason I say that is I think as we age, as we get older, our generosity goes down, especially during our middle years, but some of us get it back as we get to be seniors. I think a lot of that is preparing for death, thinking we have to do good works to get into paradise or heaven or whatever you want to call it, which actually you don't really need to do. You need faith, really. I mean, good works are important, don't get me wrong, but that's not what's going to save you. But we really need to think about what we do when it comes to charity. And again, I am not saying charity is a bad thing. It isn't. There are people out there that genuinely need help. There are times that I need help. Do you know? I'm going to do a quick story here. Do you know that years ago, before I was financially sound, I was broke. And when I say broke, I was lucky to be able to go out and afford to eat out maybe once a month. I mean, there was a time I was that broke. And that was when I started driving, and I had a hoopty. I mean, if going by Hoovie's garage, he always calls them hoopties, but I had a 92 Ford Taurus, blue, that was a heap. The transmission never shifted right. I think when I got it, it had like 120,000 miles, and I babied the thing because I knew that if that thing broke down, I couldn't afford to buy a new car. Well, at the time, I needed tires for it. And I remember I took it to a local dealership, Dillinger's. You guys have probably heard me talk about this. And my buddy now my buddy Travis that works there, back then we were strangers. And I actually went in there, and I think it was him and the owner at the time, but it wasn't even called Dillinger's at that point. At that point, it was Blanchard's. But anyway, to make a long story short, he knew the struggle I was having. I didn't have a lot of money, so what they actually did is they gave me those first set of tires for my Taurus at cost, and I was barely able to afford that, but that was something charitable that they did because they knew that I was struggling. And that kind of charity is fine. Absolutely. There are times that I will build computers for people at cost or near cost because I know they need it. But that's only if I can afford to do that. And now I can. Don't let people take advantage of you. There are people out there really, really bad, really, really, what's a good word for it? confidence tricksters, I guess, that will take advantage of you. They'll make you think that you are not doing right by them, and they'll play mind games with you, and they'll cheat you out of money. It's happened. It's happened to me before, sadly. I'm trying to read that. I don't preach religion or tend to start. And then Scott Kelly goes, that Ford trait, nothing do with year L. If you're talking about the transmission, yeah, it was a 92. It was a 92 Ford Taurus that was the first year of that notoriously bad transmission. I don't remember what it was, but it was paired to the 3-liter V6, the Vulcan V6, I think they called it at the time. But you know that the 92 to 95 Tauruses, Ford got sued for those transmissions because they knew they were faulty when they were brand new. Just like they're getting sued for the Ford Focus ones now, I think the CVT transmissions. Very sad. And they knew that they were bad. They just didn't care. Awesome Computers goes, I want to have a kid one day, but it's after I have a couple $100,000 and a good wife and a stable job. So it will be a long run till then. Now I'm trying to do good in school. That's good. That's good. I mean, that's a good plan. I will say this. Don't let time catch up with you. I know you're a lot younger than I am, but I am 36 now, going on 37. I don't have a wife. I don't have a child. And I feel that time is starting to catch up with me. Now, again, if I play my cards right, I might have another 50 good years. I'm hoping that, I might be able to eke out 85, 86. I do have some longevity in my family. However, it's coming to the point in time where I'm going to get to that middle age, middle age and then upper middle age, in my 50s. And I'm going to get to the point where I don't think I'm ever going to find a significant other. And this has been a recurring theme on my mom's side of the family. And I don't want to end up like that. I'm sorry. This is becoming kind of emotional, but I think it's I think it is beneficial to me as well as to some of you out there. I just feel like this is something that needed to be said. I don't know about that. McFarty, if you give up Sony, then why don't just join the other side? Now, I'm not that desperate yet. Sorry. No way. Yeah, I know what you're getting at too, by the way. I'm kind of I'm sure that some people have. I don't know about anybody here, but what in the world? Somebody is trying to get my attention. Oh yeah. Anybody? What? Okay. Apparently my Fitbit is critically low, even though, hang on, get this one. I keep getting these messages, like crazy messages, that my Fitbit's low on battery power, but yet it says I have 75% battery life. Okay. That was weird, but I guess moving on. Sarah Kakener, hello everyone. What have I walked in on? Ooh boy. Oh man. Well, somebody want to fill her in here? I don't know. This is going in a weird direction, but you know what? That's fine. I said I was going to shake up my channel a little bit, so let's see where this goes. Harold K. It's hard to find young women in my generation, Gen Z, okay, a little bit older than me then, that are really worth marrying at the time. Not sure how they'll become later in life. I'm very early Gen Z. Okay, so if I look it up, but you're probably in your 40s then, I'm guessing Generation Z, or am I going the opposite? Hang on, Generation Z, baby boomers, Gen X. No, so you're younger than me. Yeah, you're younger than me because it's baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and then Gen Z. Yeah, yeah, I got it. I had to think about that for a minute. This time of night, my mind don't always work so good. Awesome computers. Don't worry, Matt. Still have a good amount of time left. 37 is not all. My parents had me in their 40s. And that is another reason that I have been that is another reason I've been working out a lot lately and trying to keep the weight down. Those of you that have been following my channel for a long time know that that's something that's been a lifelong struggle for me. When I say lifelong, pretty much ever since I was about 10 years old is when I really started chunking out. But I wish I had a picture. I wish I had a picture to show you guys that, like, when I was at my heaviest. Yeah, what can I find? I have them hanging up. I got to remember to bring it to you, bring it here tomorrow. But anyway, when I was at my heaviest, I was over 400 pounds, and I was down on a downward slope that there was going to be no coming back from. Yeah, let me look that up real quick because that's bothering me right now. So Gen Z, okay. Gen Z is the group right after the millennials. So Gen Z, you are a Generation Z person if you were born between 1997 and 2012. Millennials are 1981 to 1996. So I am definitely a millennial. So a Gen Zer is going to be younger than me, not older. Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome computer. So you are, I know you don't want to give your exact age, but would you say you're 15-ish? 15-ish. So yeah, you definitely have plenty of time. Don't rush into anything for sure. Oh, we got some computer chat going on. No surprise there. I got an Adobe Premiere fan. Yeah, I used that a few times, but the little editing that I do, honestly, I still use Windows Movie Maker most of the time. I don't find that I need anything else. If the time does come that I want to be more creative in my edits, then I'll probably switch to something like that. Yeah, Scott, you're a millennial like the rest of us. Yay, computer chat. Awesome computer says. I do have some more computer videos coming up for you guys and gals out there. I know a lot of people on my channel enjoy those, and I do want to. I call myself a variety channel. I mean, Eric has it in the title, but those of you that have been with me, you know that I am. So I want to have a variety of different things, even a food review coming up because I have a couple of things I got at Dollar Tree that I want to review. One of them being some pot stickers. Just like those of you out in the West will know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that are East Coasters like me, pot stickers are basically dumplings, but they have a lot less dough on them. Switch to iMovie Maker. It's great. So we're going on a Mac there for sure. Sorry, let me get another sip of this. All of a sudden, I start losing my voice, and I'm like, what is going on here? I think the weather has been really freaky around here. Like for a while now, it's been in the 70s, like mid 70s. I'm not kidding. It was like 75 degrees. Then the temperature took a nosedive, and now it's in the 40s. And that drastic change in temperature dries me out. And I think what it is, it's the humidity goes from really high to really low because when the temperature drops, usually so does the humidity. And I just start to lose my voice. Also, I should be drinking regular water because even though this does, fun fact, even though this settles your stomach, the carbonated seltzer, it actually can dry you out instead because of the not the sodium but the potassium that this inevitably has in it. What can you do? Our OS computers, like what can you do with Pentium 4 and Pentium D CPUs? Well, Pentium 4s, not much. You really can't even use them on the internet anymore. They're just too slow. Maybe with the possible exception of the later Hyperthread LGA 775 chips. Pentium Ds can still be usable, especially the what is it, the 950s, 9 and above. They're clocked like at 3.4 or 3.6 gigahertz, but if you have a Pentium D and it is that one of the higher end ones, they put out a lot of heat. So don't use them in something like a small form factor and especially an ultra small form factor case. You definitely want to get yourself a full size tower and make sure you have a really good cooling fan. Also, if it's already built, and it's older, go ahead and replace the thermal compound on the CPU cooler. You will need to do that for sure. McFarty, I can't say this name. I'm sorry, I can't say this name without laughing. McFarty Crank, bro, you play video games? Mostly older stuff though. Nintendo games, NES, like Super Mario Brothers, old DOS games. Nothing current except for Fortnite every once in a while. Awesome computers. I found a bunch of Dell Dimension and Optiplexes. If you found the Optiplexes with the Pentium 4s, and the Pentium Ds, you have some good computers there. The Dell Dimensions of that time suffered from the capacitor plague, especially the Dimension E310s, E510s, something like that. So if you have those, make sure you don't have bloated capacitors. And honestly, if you do have the bloated capacitors, just scrap them. They're not worth repairing because you need to have specialized soldering equipment to replace the caps on motherboards properly, I should say. There are other ways to do it, but it's just a pain in the butt. Scott, I've never found P4 of socket 470 or 775 CPUs to get hot at all. Interesting. Not the 478s. No, they were older. Those were like clocked usually at 2.2, maybe 2.4 gigahertz. But the 775 ones, my first computer build was a LGA 775 Pentium 4 running at 3.4 gigahertz, and that one, I literally kid you not, when I lived in the apartment, I could heat my room just keeping that thing on overnight. That's how much heat that put out. Scott goes, the GX 520s and 620s had cap issues too. Interesting. I wonder if that was just a Canada thing because over the years, I have had numerous GX 520s and 620s in, and I can't remember ever having one with the bloated capacitors. I wonder if that was a regional problem. It's very possible because they were all made in different factories. Eric goes, I'm still slightly sad over the scrapyard deal. I couldn't believe they wouldn't let me buy them. Yeah. I didn't want to say anything when you were so excited about it, Eric. I didn't want to burst your bubble, so I kept my mouth shut, but I kind of had a hunch that was going to happen. And the only reason I know that is because it happened to me a few times when I was up at my uncle's place about 2 miles out of town. They have the Brisbane, New York municipal. Oh, it's a dump. They call it like a municipal recycling and distribution center, but it's a dump is what it is. And they have a big building there that you can drop off your electronic equipment and you don't have to pay for it. But they're really funny about taking it. Like I went there and I saw a bunch of computer equipment. I was dropping off some old Dell Optiplexes, but I saw some computer equipment. I actually saw a really nice looking Panasonic plasma TV that I wanted to get my hands on. And no matter what I did, I could not get the people there to let me take it. So I kind of had a hunch that might happen. And I'm sorry that it did. I was really hoping you were going to be able to get that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I guess technically a scrapyard is different, but I would actually think they'd be even more protective because at a scrapyard, their bread and butter is scrapping out the computers for the precious metals, and that's how they make their money. The municipal dumps, not so much. They're the ones that actually eventually get that stuff and send it to the scrapyard. So I would think you would actually have better luck, honestly, at a dump than you would a scrapyard. I never gave you guys a update. We got 17 watchers and 13 likes. Don't forget to click that like button. If you really like this video, help me out there. You know, it doesn't seem like it, but it does help me get my the videos higher in the search results. Would you rather go dumpster diving into a trash bin with a Mortal Kombat trilogy game clean and new, but the bin is full of used needles? You would go in the trash bin with a copy of Crash Bandicoot. Well, honestly, I'd rather have the copy of Crash Bandicoot than the copy of Mortal Kombat. I never really liked Mortal Kombat personally, but I guess if I was desperate enough, I would probably do it. Thank you. Awesome Computers always gives me a like, and I see we got a few more likes just by me doing that one plug. All right, I'm not reading that last one. We're getting a little silly here, folks. Let's get back. Not necessarily serious, but as Graham Chapman would say in Monty Python, that's too silly. We need to go back and be serious, folks. That is just way too silly. We're stopping this skit right now. Incidentally, did you guys hear that Terry Jones passed away? The second of the Monty Python crew to pass. Graham Chapman died back in the early 90s, and Terry Jones, we lost him last week. Very, very funny individual. He was the one in The Meaning of Life, the Monty Python's Meaning of Life, where he was Mr. Creosote, where he just kept eating and eating, and his stomach expanded and he exploded. Incidentally, a great movie. If you've never seen Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, I would highly recommend it. I actually prefer that one over the Holy Grail. A lot of people say the Monty Python and the Holy Grail was the best one. You know, it was the first one, and it definitely had its moments. But I would definitely say that Meaning of Life was actually my favorite. Ray Sanchez said, talk about a change in the weather. It snowed in El Paso last night. I did hear that this morning. I was listening to Good Morning America with Hoda, and I think Al Roker was on it. I was listening to it because I make my breakfast, and that's what I listen to. And they were talking about it actually snowing in El Paso last night. Unbelievable. Our weather patterns are definitely changing, and I'm not going to use the word climate change because I don't know for sure that's what it is, but it kind of makes you think. I mean, it's really weird what's happening nowadays. And New Jersey has barely gotten any snow. Neither is New York, from what I understand, either, especially where my uncle lives. In Western New York, it's just been really weird this year. But this, I think, is one of those transition years. The way it works is we have like a decade of warmer weather, and then we'll have a decade of colder weather, more cold weather. But there's a few years in between where it's a transition, where it could be one or the other. And I think we're in that transition period right now. If we've been in this for a couple of years now, I think we were on a warm slope for the last decade. So I think this decade coming is going to be a more cold one. So definitely look for more snow coming in the, probably the next year or so. And guess what? My hard drive finally spun down. You guys can't hear it in the background, but it drives me nuts. I hear it through my headphones. So now I don't have that kind of buzzing in my ear. Scott Killer, we have about 2 feet of snowfall so far this year and get another storm coming Friday. Ooh, I would like to see some snow. Honestly, I really, really would. It's something I miss being from upstate New York originally. I'm used to snowfalls like that, and I haven't seen a good one like that in years. All right. First time I've had to put somebody in timeout, and I'm not going to say who it is, but he knows who he is. I tell you, it takes all kinds to make a world, but at the end of the day, I have to police this live chat. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's good. It's all good. But I think I'm going to end it here in the next few minutes because I am definitely starting to lose my voice. I wasn't going to do a live stream, but I really wanted to get those a few things off my chest. I That title was not necessarily meant to be clickbaity because a lot of that is true. I mean, but it wasn't that I'm giving up on YouTube. I just felt like I wanted to give up on romance. It just happened. But you know what? You guys have definitely encouraged me. I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing, especially when it comes to the fitness side of things. And you know what? I think I'll give you guys an update on that because there are a bunch of you out there that probably want to know, hey Matt, how you doing with your fitness goals? Well, my last weigh in last night was 217, which is not good, but you always weigh about 3 pounds more at night. So I figure that I am really about 214, maybe 213 on a good day. My goal now, I want to stick anywhere between the 200 to 210 pound mark. So if I can get anywhere in between there, I'll be happy. Now, I have been working out a lot more. I finally built up a bicep, at least a little bit of one. I have weak upper body muscles anyway. So that's another reason. And if you are like me and you're doing a lot of upper body strength training, don't be discouraged if you see the scale creeping up because remember, muscle weighs more than fat. So chances are, if you're trying to build muscle, you're actually going to wind up gaining weight. That's awesome. Ray Sanchez, I lost about 40 pounds in 3 months working out, eating healthy, and taking turmeric. You are not the first person to you are not actually the first person to tell me that. Turmeric actually is supposed to be very good for weight loss. I do the apple cider vinegar. Might have to look at that in the near future. Awesome computers. Oh, geez, 170 and 6'1". You're a beanpole. You're good, man. I mean, that's right where you should be, actually. So you're my height. You're my height. I'm 6'2", so you figure you're maybe in what, half an inch or an inch shorter than me. So it all depends on if you are muscular or trying to be muscular. If you are somebody who's a weightlifter, then don't go by the BMI scale, the body mass index scale, because it's going to be wrong. I can guarantee you it's going to be wrong because it doesn't take into account the extra muscle mass, and it's not really that great of a judge of your health anyway. If you are a healthy person, like I consider myself a healthy person now, even at 200 and we'll just say 217 pounds, 6'2", 217 pounds puts me in the overweight category. So again, just using the BMI calculator, because that's what so many people go by, I'm actually at about 27, maybe 27.5% body fat, which is technically overweight. You want to be, they say, 25% or less. That being said, I am still a very healthy, physically fit person because I eat right for the most part. I get exercise, and my resting heart rate on average is about 58 to 60 beats per minute. So don't necessarily think just because you are overweight by the BMI or scale or a doctor's chart that you are not healthy. You can be. It just kind of helps you. It's a guideline to try to help you be as healthy as you possibly can be. Eric goes, turmeric is great for joints, but bad if people for people with low blood sugar. Interesting. Now I don't have that problem. I used to be hypoglycemic. Then I was diabetic technically when I was really overweight. Now I'm like normal. But the one thing I never was able to overcome, I still have high blood pressure. I take a pill for that, and it's probably something I'll never be able to totally fix because it runs on both sides of my family. So it is what it is. We all have our crosses to bear in life. Awesome computers. I'm not very muscular, but I try to exercise a bit by shooting some hoops outside or like riding the exercise bike or something. Great exercise. I don't like stationary bikes myself. I'd rather just take my regular bike out. I have like mountain bikes and things like that. Um, Cardio, in my opinion, is very important, especially if you're a carb eater. And guilty is charged. You're looking at a carbaholic. I love my carbohydrates. If it wasn't for that, I probably would be at my goal weight and below. But again, you have to be okay. I'm gonna be very careful how I put this. When it comes to exercise, you have to do the type of exercise that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy your workouts, you're not going to do them. I can guarantee you that. And it took me years to get to the point where I actually enjoy working out. So do what you enjoy. There are so many different types of exercises out there. There's bike riding, there's cross-country skiing, there's skateboarding, there's rollerblading, there's roller skating, you have running, jogging, power walking, you have all different kinds of sports. Find what you like. Now, with me, I used to love to swim. Unfortunately, I can't swim anymore because I have a chronic eustachian tube problem and I can't get water in my ear. So that part of my life, sadly, is over. But I found other things. I like to bike ride. In the mornings, I'm always on my feet. I do the military march while I'm eating breakfast. Yeah, I know that's really weird. And if you are the type of person that is a mouth breather, please don't do that, because I know people that have aspirated their food and choked because of it. But generally, I can breathe through my nose. So exercising, while I eat in the morning is not a problem. Scott goes, this time of year, it's pushing snowblower for me. Yeah, that can be pretty hard. My uncle doesn't even have one. So when I'm up there or staying with him, it's shoveling, which honestly is even more of an exercise, though. It's not something that I enjoy doing. It's just something that has to get done. Luckily, he has like the smallest driveway I've ever seen. So it might take 10 minutes at most to shovel his driveway. All right, folks, I'm going to end it here. I know it's a little before an hour, but I'm getting a little tired. And yes, I am starting to lose my voice. Thank you all for coming. We did have quite a few new people here. McFarty, you are welcome back next time. But remember, we try to keep this as family friendly as possible. Please, if you come back, just be kind. Keep your comments germane to the topic at hand, and just don't be too silly, please. All right, everybody, have a great evening. Please continue to like and subscribe. And as always, have a blessed day, everybody.